I have a topic that I've been asked about many, many times and never really shared the full story of why I decided to purchase an investment property in Ukraine, do a really huge renovation project. You should see the photos. It's like a zombie apocalypse, and then it's turned into like a modern apartment. So I can't wait to show you some of those photos. And of course, given that there's currently, as I record this, a war going on in Ukraine, what happened? Did my apartment get blown up? Did it get hit by all this artillery strikes that Russia is sending into Ukraine? Why did I do it? Was it a really stupid move, or was it worthwhile? All coming up in today's video. Hey, my name is Yaro, and I'm a creator, entrepreneur, and investor, and I help other people to turn their content into a real business. So if that's something you're interested in doing, make sure you do check out all my videos and of course my blog, and sign up to my newsletter as well. But for today, I actually have a topic that's a little bit different. It is an investment, so it is within the realm of the subjects I cover. So let's go back in time. This is about the year 2017. This is actually before I ever went to Ukraine. I'd never been there before. However, I was planning to visit because Eurovision was going to be hosted in Kyiv. So also because my father, he was born in Ukraine. It's a place I have a historical background, a family connection to. So I wanted to go visit it for the first time during some European travels. So pack my bags, head to Ukraine. Not really expecting much other than just to explore a little bit, learn a bit about the country, the culture, do that digital nomad tourist thing that I often do. And that's what I did. I basically got to know my father's, it's not really his hometown where he was born, but he did study there. The city is called Lviv. It's in the far west. It's like the Ukrainian capital of Ukraine. It's where the language is spoken is Ukrainian first. It's kind of like the cultural heart of the country. And it's also got an interesting background because it used to be part of Poland. It used to be part of the Austrian Empire. It's got a very kind of Austrian architecture to the feel of the building. So it feels a little bit like Central Western Europe, not quite all 100%, Eastern Russian Soviet style. So I really like that kind of mix. So I spent some time there. And while I was there, I met a new friend. His name is Andriy, and he comes into the story a little bit later as an important person I got to know. But really all I did that year was just live my life. Went to Eurovision. I did what I always do. I run my businesses from my laptop, went to cafes, explored a little bit. But then something was also happening that year, which you might know about if you've been following the cryptocurrency markets for a while. 2017 was one of the boom years for crypto. I thought, silly enough, that I'd missed the boat on Bitcoin. It was already up to, I think, $2,000 by the time, I was looking to potentially buy some crypto. I wanted to look at maybe getting into this brand new cryptocurrency, Ethereum, which was like, I think, $10 at the time I was, first exploring it. So long story short, I bought some Ethereum, then I bought some more Ethereum, then I bought some more Ethereum, then I bought some Bitcoin, then I bought some more Bitcoin. I even bought a few alternative coins that were starting to pop up in 2017. But the majority of my investment was definitely in Ethereum, which was brilliant because Ethereum that year went from $10 to $25 to $50 to $150 to $300, $450, $600, $750, all the way to the peak of about, I remember it topped almost $1,500 that year. But what happened with me, this is interesting, this all connects to why I was in Ukraine. So I was watching my Ethereum and crypto holdings just balloon. It was crazy. I'd wake up one morning and had made $100,000 in the last 24 hours in additional, profit on top of my Ethereum holdings. And then the next day I might drop $50,000. So it was a real super roller coaster, up and down, big gains, big losses, but overall well and truly, up multiples, 3, 4, 5 times my money. So I ended up making a decision to take some money out from my cryptocurrency to then invest in a solar farm with that friend Andriy I mentioned. He happened to work for the government. He knew about some special programs going on to incentivize green energy like solar, and I will share that full story in another video. But as a result of making the choice to start this solar company in Ukraine, I made the choice to also settle there for a little while. I wasn't sure, it might be 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever I felt was necessary to get the business up and running. I was also, just trying to live a typical life, going to coffee shops, making my own food, learning how to buy groceries, all that kind of stuff. So what happened, and this is probably, if you're like me in any shape and form, whenever you come to a new city and you spend a certain amount of time there and you start looking at the buildings going, wow, these buildings are really nice. Wow, this old town square is beautiful. There's such amazing food and restaurants. So I'm thinking, wow, this is like a great place. Maybe I should possibly look at buying a property, or at least, finding out what does properties cost here. I hate being one of those people like the foreigner who comes in with the powerful US dollar and buys things, but I also was well and truly aware that me being there, spending money in the country was also helping, and obviously, spreading awareness for this amazing country and especially this amazing city of Lviv. So I got myself a real estate agent, and it's called a makler. I think I remember right. It's not a nice word. That was the word I learned. I learned some interesting things about property in Ukraine. For example, often you buy a new apartment, a new condo there, but when you say new, it's not like what I'm used to here in Canada or in Australia where I grew up. When you buy new, you buy off the plan, but you get a finished building and a finished apartment. It's got walls, it's got usually even appliances potentially. In Ukraine, when you buy new, it doesn't even have walls. You really buy it like raw. I'm missing the most important thing. You're probably wondering, how much does it actually cost to buy an apartment in Ukraine? You can get into the market, at least when I was looking in 2017, for about $35,000, even $25,000 if you look a little further away from the heart of the city. But I was looking in the downtown, especially the historical district near where all the great tourist attractions are, because I was thinking, I'm probably going to Airbnb this apartment when I'm not living there, and I need somewhere close to that historical part of town where all the tourists go. So the apartments there, you could pick them up for $35,000, $45,000, $50,000, all the way into like $100,000, $125,000, $150,000 US if you want bigger, more rooms, and so on. I was kind of aiming for around $50,000. Not a lot of money, but also still a lot of money. Depends, how you look at it. Nothing compared to the cost of a property in Canada at the time, where $50,000 would even buy me probably a parking spot in certain places. Most houses were like minimum $500,000, usually $1 million if you're looking in Vancouver and Toronto and so on. I basically did this research, looked at a few places, and eventually found what I thought was a good opportunity. Now, I'll be honest, it was very rundown, but it was in a good location, close to the tourist area, old style, historical, so it's got a bit of charm. And what was really interesting about it was a basement. So there was a basement attached to it that was full of trash. And that's what I mean by like a zombie apocalypse. It was like old wood piled up, disgusting mess. But I saw the potential. It could be a second bedroom / living room, which is not always the case with a lot of the smaller condos in Ukraine. So I was excited about the potential there to increase value, do a renovation, turn a 1-bedroom into a 2-bedroom. So that's the property I ended up making an offer on. Offer was accepted, about $48,000 US, if I'm remembering correctly. And here's where things get fun in Ukraine. Because of the way the system is there, when you buy a property, some parts are very normal. You have a notary, you pay also a commission to the real estate agent, the makler. The banking system in Ukraine is heavily regulated because they're trying to stop corruption, money laundering. So it's very unusual to actually keep your money in the bank. And me as a foreigner, I was able to get a bank account, but I had a lot of restrictions too on how I could move money in and out. I started to do some transfers of funds, taking money from Australia, where I had some money, from Canada, where I had some money in bank accounts, as well as PayPal. I actually had some PayPal money. So I started to push enough money to basically purchase this property into my Ukrainian bank account. And that really was, it was a little bit tricky, a little bit slow and cumbersome, but eventually I got the money into my bank. What was surprising and a little bit weird, and definitely not the most reassuring way to purchase a property, was how I got that money out of the bank account. So you can't just walk up to a Ukrainian bank and say, I'd like to take out a check that will, it's got official stamp on it, it's legitimate, it's coming from the bank. I take it, I get it written out to $48,000. I carefully take that piece of paper, I give it to the notary. The notary often will then cash it, and then they'll write a check once all the fees have been taken out and give it to the seller. That's how it happens here in Canada and Australia as well. In Ukraine, no, it's all cash. So first of all, I can't just go get a check from the bank. Second of all, I have to take out cash. Third, you just don't walk up to a bank and say, give me $48,000 cash. You have to take it out in small amounts. There's a cap. The most I ever took out in a single day was about $8,000 US in crisp $100 notes. So I'd go to the teller, I'd speak very little Ukrainian, so I'd have to say, I'd like to withdraw, and I'd write the amount on a piece of paper. I think I went to the bank probably 15 times to get the full amount of money out. And then when it finally came to the day, and bearing in mind, I had to plan this because there was a day when the exchange had to happen, and then I had like a few weeks. First of all, it's surprising how little $48,000 is in $100 bills. It's probably like that much money. So it wasn't like what you think about, in the cartoons, a big bag of money with a dollar sign on it and you're carrying it around carefully. No, it really was this small bag, and I was quite able to conceal it and carry it. I did feel a little uncomfortable, I have to say, especially that day of making the transaction, carrying $48,000 US in this bag, going, what if I just happen to get mugged today? It never happened, and it's a very safe city, but there was always that concern. It worked. Got to the notary, made the payment, was given the keys, put my name on the deed. It was my property. Now, huge thanks, I have to say, to my friend Andre, because he hooked me up with all kinds of contractors. In fact, luckily his father happens to be not like a semi-retired contractor, so he had a lot of guys available to go to and get the renovations done. It was a job. It was probably 5 months of slow work, changes, discovering new problems, but at the end of the day, it came out really nice. So that was all done. I lived there for a brief period before I went traveling again, and then I started putting in Airbnb guests with a local manager helping me to do that. Worked really well, surprisingly well. In fact, once it was all said and done and I had guests coming in, I was actually earning a higher per year yield in terms of rental return on the capital invested than I would have investing in Canada or Australia. So potentially could pay itself off in 10 to 15 years, depending on how things went. And that, of course, is a story in itself. Fast forward 2 years later, after this apartment's finished, COVID hits. Instantly kills the rental market. It's not a great situation. We all live through it. So I had to deal with the fact that the rent stopped for a brief period of time.
This is truly an unprecedented situation. This virus doesn't discriminate.
Started coming back in trickles as, we went closed down, opened again, closed down, opened again. And Ukraine went through its own version of that. So people were coming and then it would be very slow. But I did make some money. And then just as we're coming out of COVID, of course, Russia decides to invade. At that point in time, I was just more worried about, will Ukraine exist? What's going to happen to my friend Andre, some of my other friends who live there? All these people I was worried about. So first of all let's just make sure they're okay, the country's okay. And that's an ongoing topic as I'm recording this video. But they're all safe. It's in the West. There's been a few rocket launches. Buildings have been hit there. Unfortunately, people have died, but it's largely been spared so far. What I did do as soon as this war broke out, I said to Paul, my property manager, and my friends there, Andre and Yulia, if you have anyone coming from the East or anywhere really who needs a place to stay, I'm not looking to capitalize and make money on this. The Airbnb market stopped for obvious reasons. So I said, anyone who needs it, let's just get them in there and make sure they're safe. And it ended up being a refugee home for about 3 families. I think 7 adults, 4 children were living in there at one point. So I was just happy I could provide any kind of help in that horrible situation. And I went through a very bizarre period, and I still am doing this to a degree, where I would watch the news on YouTube or on television, and I'd be checking, where did the rocket hit? Especially if it was in Lviv, I was like, how close is that to the part of the city where my building is? So, in summary, do I regret making this? Was I, not really thinking ahead that there could be a conflict with Russia? I mean, there already was. When I bought the property, there was fighting going on in the Donbass. 14,000 people had died. So it wasn't like I didn't know about the risk of Russia at the point I was doing this. But I have to say, honestly, when you're living in Lviv, it's such a vibrant city, amazing food, amazing culture, amazing lifestyle, very friendly. It felt safe, it felt secure, it felt like there was a great future. And, people were happy, motivated, looking to get into the European Union, grow businesses, all the things that I line up with personally as well. I don't regret the purchase. It'd be different if I'd put in a large part of my net worth. I look at every investment as potentially going to zero. That includes cryptocurrencies, that includes stocks, that includes even the properties that you purchase. Anything and everything could potentially go to zero. But if you're putting in, lots of eggs in lots of different baskets, it's unlikely that all of them will crash at the same time. Now, you can go through periods like we're going through right now where it is a little extra rough, where crypto's down, stock market's down, property is falling, recession is looming on the corner, inflation is high. It's a rough period, but My business is growing. I had properties that went through massive increases in price here in Canada. So it's been an investment that certainly has not gone the way I expected it to, but I don't regret it. It's still actually cash flowing now. I'm making some money now. It wasn't all cash purchase, no loan. I was again using those cryptocurrency income. So I overall do not feel terrible about it. And I actually felt a little good that I could help in some shape or form with those refugees during the wartime. Would I do it again? I wouldn't certainly recommend right now investing in Ukraine in property and business. I mean, I hate saying that because I actually do recommend it because it's great for so many reasons. Obviously helping them, you've got to keep the economy going there. It is a great place to do business. There's a great tech community, very smart people. But at the same time, you've got this very belligerent Russian neighbor that just does unexpected things and is not humane at the end of the day. You know, they're willing to kill people and destroy things because they believe something should be theirs. So I've been lucky with where I'm born. I've been lucky in the economies I've grown up with. I've been lucky to have parents, you know, who provided for me, and we had a relatively safe life. And unfortunately, that's just not the case now in Ukraine. So my apartment's still going. It's a great renovation. And as promised, here are some before and after photos. So the apartment itself is at 2 stories. There's the top floor, which was a toilet, a kitchen, and a very large master bedroom. It was completely gutted out. There was, you know, new plaster done. Obviously a paint job. The flooring was completely redone, and then furniture brought in by my interior designer. That was a big job, but downstairs was the crazy big job because that's where people were storing like leftover trash. And that space was basically 2 rooms. So you could go down the stairs, which by the way, we added to the building. We opened up a door to connect my apartment to that storage area and turn it into a living room where you could put a television and a couch, and also a very small second sort of guest bedroom. And I think you can see all the before and after photos. It really is quite the dramatic change, and I think it's a great improvement. And yeah, I hope to one day go back and live in that apartment again for my next visit to Ukraine. Okay, that's it from me. Hope you enjoyed this video. I have lots more stories to share, so please subscribe. And my name is Yaro. I'll talk to you on a future video very soon. Bye-bye.